Shares of Nike, they are lower today after an embarrassing incident for the company that took place on national television. One of its sneakers literally fell apart during a game.
And he just his leg went out from underneath him. He just grabbed the back of his leg. He's walking off under his own power.
In 1984, Michael Jordan chose to sign with Nike instead of Adidas. That move gave birth to the NBA sneaker culture and brand deals among superstars. From Jordan's Air Jordans to Kobe's sleek silhouettes to LeBron's billion-dollar deal, the swoosh wasn't just a brand, it was basketball royalty. But one day, it all started to crumble.
Against one of the best rebounding teams in the country in North Carolina.
Zion went down, looked like he hyperextended his leg. He is down, slipped, perhaps some perspiration on the floor, and this place got quiet awfully quickly.
That freak accident tanked Nike's stock by $1.1 billion overnight. But it didn't stop there.
Shares of Nike are in free fall after they missed on revenue last night and cut their full-year earnings guidance. The shares, down 20%, are on pace for their worst day ever.
Stock is cut in half since the all-time high in November of 2021. Like, what's happening? Is competition eating their lunch?
From the contracts to design and even control, some of the NBA's finest are quietly walking away from Nike. Here's how it started. The rise of the Nike shoe brand and NBA superstars began with the fall of another brand, Adidas.
You know what? The thing is, I never wore Nike shoes until I signed a Nike contract. All through college, we wore Converse. And up to that point, my favorite shoe was an Adidas shoe.
Adidas had the greatest basketball player as a fan and blew it when they refused to give him the respect that they gave European athletes. Then, Nike swooped in and got Michael Jordan to sign the deal that sealed their dominance in basketball. See, MJ didn't just sell sneakers, he launched a revolution. Air Jordans turned basketball shoes into fashion, culture, and identity. Kobe Bryant followed with low-top designs that pros swore by, while LeBron James built a billion-dollar empire on Nike's back. For decades, wearing the swoosh was the ultimate stamp of legitimacy. But then, the culture shifted. The NBA got younger, louder, and way less patient. Social media flipped it all upside down. I mean, while in the 90s, kids had to camp outside malls for Jordans, by the 2020s, a rookie could post his kicks on Instagram, pull in millions of likes, and sell out. It wasn't long for players to realize that they no longer needed Nike's stamp of approval. Once they had a strong fan base, they could just go directly to their fans. And at first, Nike tried to hold the line by pushing out big launches and doubling down on legacy. But the tide was already shifting, and the first shift was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving brought in a lot of business for Nike. His signature shoes, such as the Kyrie 1s and Kyrie 4s, weren't just popular, they were everywhere. At his peak, Kyrie's sneakers were the second best sellers in the league, trailing only LeBron. However, everything unraveled with injuries, trade controversies, and that time he called one of Nike's shoes trash. But everything exploded in 2022 with a since-deleted tweet that sparked a firestorm. Nike quickly cut ties with him, but then it didn't pan out the way they thought. See, for most stars, that would have been a career death sentence, but we're talking about the player with arguably the best handles in the game. So instead of Kyrie going under with his shoes, he went to a phase of redemption. NBA players and even kids at parks continued rocking the Kyrie 4s. This proved that Kyrie's brand was bigger than the swoosh, and ultimately, more NBA players started to think that maybe they don't need Nike after all. Kyrie continued his career after the storm and signed a new sneaker deal with Anta.
Some of my old products and old technology that I've had, but now I'm moving to Anta and seeing what they're capable of, and they really came through. So
Kyrie's situation was the first piece as the domino began to crumble. The next was Ja Morant. In 2023, Ja Morant dropped the Ja 1 with neon colorways and explosive marketing. Kids lined up, courts buzzed, and for a moment, everything looked perfect. But then, it wasn't long before the scandals hit. In March 2023, Ja flashed a firearm on Instagram Live. The NBA world went crazy, and eventually Ja was hit with an 8-game suspension. Seeing the way Nike handled Kyrie's situation, everyone expected them to drop Ja. But nope, they stood quietly behind him. A few months later, Ja was flashing guns again. This time, the league came down hard with a 25-game suspension. Ja's image tanked, and suddenly Nike's golden boy looked more like trouble than money. Still, Nike doubled down. They launched the Ja 2 and rolled out the Ja 3. The shoes still sold out, proving that they made the right choice. But the controversy split the fans in two. Some praised Nike for standing by a young star fighting through mistakes. Others blasted the swoosh for rewarding bad behavior. Either way, Nike's loyalty to Ja proves one thing. This isn't the same brand that once cut Kyrie without hesitation. This is a brand scrambling to hold on to stars, even if it means betting their image on controversy. But when you're dealing with today's NBA players, the only problem isn't controversy. Take Zion Williamson, for instance. He signed with Nike in 2019 and seemed destined to take LeBron's throne. So, Nike locked him in before his first NBA game. The Zion 1 was positioned as the future, and for a brief moment, it all felt real. But it didn't take long before the incident that lost Nike $1.1 billion in a single day happened. Still, Nike doubled down anyway. They launched the Zion 1, 2, and 3 with flashy marketing. But the injuries piled up. Knee strains, foot problems, weight issues. Zion spent more time on the bench than on the court, ultimately killing the buzz. Nike wanted LeBron 2.0, but what they got was Greg Oden with better commercials. But worse is the fact that Zion's collapse didn't just hurt Nike's wallet, it hurt their credibility, shifting momentum away from them. With momentum shifting, social media blew the gates wide open. Soon, authenticity started to matter more than legacy. Players didn't just want to be endorsers, they wanted equity, creative control, and ownership. And the first young NBA superstar to blaze this trail was Anthony Edwards. This wasn't even supposed to happen because Ant-Man played college basketball at the University of Georgia, a Nike-sponsored school. So, he was supposed to rock with Nike, but Adidas got to him first. Ant-Man's first shoe was the AE1s, and it instantly became one of the hottest shoes in the league. Low tops, cleats, bold colorways which screamed his personality. Other stars like Scoot Henderson followed, signing with Puma. But then, it wasn't just the young guns that were going against Nike. Jaylen Brown rejected $50 million from Nike to launch his own player-owned brand, 741 Performance. His Rover sneaker dropped in January 2025, making him not just a player, but a sneaker CEO. And fans didn't just buy the shoe, they bought into the idea of independence. Now, Nike was no longer competing just with Adidas or Puma. They were now competing with the players themselves. These new superstars wanted royalties, equity, and say over design. They don't want to wear the swoosh, they want to own the crown. But Nike still has Jordan, LeBron, and history. But the new generation doesn't live in history, they live in the now. So, where did Nike miss it? Nike was always able to get and keep the best players in the league, and while they can still get the best, they have seemed to have forgotten how to keep them. Most people don't even remember that Jordan almost left Nike at one point.
Michael Jordan was Nike's big star. He was unhappy with some of his early shoes and was getting close to leaving.
Nike went as far as hosting a shoe designing competition, which landed the man, Tinker Hatfield, who would later design MJ's shoes. But now, Nike can hardly do any of that. But more importantly, there seems to be a disconnect from how Nike started with legends like Michael to the stars of today. And that disconnect seemed to have happened with Kobe Bryant. Kobe's shoes were everywhere, and the pros trusted it more than any other line. Even after retirement, over 100 NBA players laced up the Kobe Protros on game night. From Devin Booker to Anthony Davis, his sneakers symbolized work ethic, precision, and excellence. Kobe was the bridge. But then 2020 happened, and we lost Kobe. The world was shattered, but unknown to Nike at the time, his death tore away their emotional anchor. The deal with his estate expired in 2021, yanking Kobe's off the shelves. Fans were enraged. The collectors hoarded it like gold, and its prices skyrocketed. However, Nike soon struck a renewal deal with Vanessa Bryant. And would you believe it? Kobe's dominated the market again. But it wouldn't last. You see, without Kobe himself, the releases felt like echoes. And although players still wore them, deep down, everyone knew that the Mamba mentality was gone. Nonetheless, the situation proved that Nike hadn't found a new torchbearer with their shoes. Zion was supposed to be it, Ja was supposed to be it, Kyrie was supposed to be it, but it just never worked with any of them. But if it remained like that, it wouldn't be so bad. But it got worse when they repeated the same mistake Adidas made with Jordan with Curry. It all happened in 2013, after Curry's deal with Nike expired. Because Curry isn't the name he is now, Nike just straight up treated him like trash. During a pitch meeting in Oakland, Nike executives mispronounced his name as Stefan and refused to correct it. Then they put up PowerPoint slides that accidentally retained Kevin Durant's name. At that point, Curry knew he was done. He got an offer from a lesser brand, Under Armour, for $4 million, which is a significant jump from Nike's $2.5 million offer. Of course, Curry took the deal.
My career, like building something from scratch, taking a chance to put my fingerprint on a brand from the ground up and have a company that was going to kind of invest behind me, that was a huge opportunity.
So what happened? Well, Curry's shoes drove a 64% surge in Under Armour's footwear sales to $264 million in Q1 of 2016 alone. Right now, there are rumors of a lifetime extension deal for Curry, potentially exceeding $1 billion in value. So, don't be surprised if Under Armour becomes the new Nike one day. As for Nike, things have continued to get worse. 2025 hit Nike hard.
Nike has fallen behind, and I think that's illustrative of the fact that they've had a bit of a lull when it comes to innovation.
The brand was struggling for answers, so they rushed back onto Amazon in May 2025 after years of focusing on direct-to-consumer sales. But while they were busy patching leaks, rivals were eating their lunch. Adidas surged, Puma signed more stars, and New Balance doubled down on Kawhi. The swoosh wasn't just losing market share, it was losing cultural power. They tried fighting back by leaning on legacy shoes like Jordan Retros. But while Nike leaned on history, competitors marketed authenticity. Adidas let Edwards design. Kyrie did the same with Anta, and Puma let Scoot shape. But right now, nothing has changed. The reality of the day now is players no longer need Nike. They need the players. Nike once crowned basketball's kings, from Jordan's dunks to Kobe's fadeaway to LeBron's dominance. However, the tide has turned. Kyrie's rebellion, Zion's stumbles, and Ja's controversies cracked the foundation. Meanwhile, Edwards, Henderson, Kawhi, and Brown built empires outside the swoosh. Players no longer bow to Nike. They build their own thrones. And unless Nike adapts, the swoosh risks becoming a logo of the past, not the future. And speaking of the future, have you noticed that something different is happening with LeBron James this NBA season? Want to know what it is? Then watch our next video.